Let's continue the discussion of capacity planning for a virtual environment. These are processing and memory. In a virtual environment, processing and memory will become a shared resource across multiple servers, so your physical infrastructure will usually be larger than it would be with one physical server. For instance, a physical server might only have 4 processor cores and 8 gigs of RAM, while it's not uncommon to see virtual hosts with 12 processor cores and 192 gigs of RAM. It is critical that the capacity of processing and memory be planned accordingly, or your virtual environment is doomed to fail. You will need to answer these questions. What virtual servers do I plan to operate and create on my host or hosts? How much RAM and how many processing cores are needed for each virtual server? And what is the daily usage of both resources? When beginning the virtualization project, you need to have a fairly good idea on what servers your environment will run. This list will likely grow much quicker than you thought once the virtual environment is active, but the initial list of servers will give you a baseline to begin your capacity planning. Once you have established the list of virtual servers you plan to host, examine the requirements for each. For existing servers, you can look at their concurrent configurations. For new servers, you will need to examine the minimum requirements. This only applies to existing physical servers, but it is a good idea to know what the daily usage trends are for each machine. It is not uncommon to find a server with 32 gigs of RAM hosting an application that only uses 6. Provisioning 32 gigs of RAM in your virtual environment would be wasteful. Further, you need to understand the usage trends, so take time to watch your current servers. What is the average usage and what are the spikes? Once you know your usage curves, you can more thoroughly plan your capacity. Once these questions are answered, simply add the resources consumed by each server and get your totals. From there, you can establish a minimum capacity requirement for your virtual environment. And you've seen this throughout the whole presentations, but I'll add it one more time. Get your baseline, figure out what you need, and then add more, because you're always going to underestimate when you're doing your initial planning.